Welcome back to the Detox Your Dome podcast. Today we are interviewing Charlie Razook, founder of Jackfir, an EWG-Verified plant-powered skincare brand for men. Charlie founded this brand after being diagnosed with leukemia and realizing how many harmful ingredients were in his personal care products. We cover so much in this episode. We talk about Charlie's health and the things he learned while battling cancer. We talked about his entrepreneurial journey. We talk about the EWG verification process. We talk about why men need skincare and how to get them to start. We talk about what Charlie does now to maintain a low-tox lifestyle while living in Manhattan, and we help you to identify harmful ingredients that could be lurking in your personal care products. Get ready to learn about all things low-tox living and skincare, my personal favorite topics. We hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to Detox Your Dome, the podcast, where we empower you with knowledge about the ingredients that make up the products that we use every day. And we help you to become a more informed consumer on your journey towards living a clean, safe, and toxin-free lifestyle. Detox Your Dome. Body, home, planet. Welcome, Charlie, to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I guess the first question is, what inspired you to start Jackfir?
I'd say I always cared about my skincare routine, but I was just using Kiehl's because my mom got it for me when I was like 16, and I assumed it was good, and have been using it for a long time. Then, unfortunately, while getting my MBA in Italy, I became sick. I was diagnosed with leukemia. That was in 2018, and I flew back to the US 2 days later and started 3.5 years of treatment. During that time, I became really just attuned to the things in our environment that can be making us sick. My doctor said it was some combination of genetics and environment. I didn't really have any genetic markers. Excuse the sirens, I'm in New York. Didn't have any genetic markers, so I was like, I guess the only thing I can control is my environment. So I went down this clean living spiral rabbit hole and found resources like the Environmental Working Group, which, ranks skincare products, apps like Yuka, and just did a lot of my own research. So I changed out the food I was eating, the water I was drinking, my household cleaners. When it came to my personal care products, I just realized there were so many chemicals of concern that are potential carcinogens and endocrine disruptors in there. So I found a handful of brands that were really just like marketed for women and made for women that were doing a good job at being clean. Clean's obviously a very kind of like open-ended, choose your own adventure word. I think oftentimes it's very misleading. Some people say they're clean and they're not that clean. My personal criteria was very, very intense, free from thousands of chemicals that are banned in Europe, even phenoxyethanol, which some people don't think is a big deal. I'd rather not have it. It's allergenic. There could be other problems. Anyways, mine was very rigid. The few women's brands that fit that criteria I was using and I liked, but I couldn't help think that there were just like, why are women's brands better than men's brands? And I wanted to make a product for my brothers. Like, I have 3 brothers who wouldn't be as comfortable as I am using like a pink cleanser. So that's what led me to Jackfir. So I launched Jackfir in August 2022. We launched with a cleanser, a moisturizer, and a shave cream. We've since launched an eye cream, and we're about to launch a bar soap.
Wow. You have such an incredible personal journey and backstory. I'd love to learn, like, when you were diagnosed with leukemia, what resources were you reading, were you going after to learn about these ingredients that were in your personal care products? Did it come from your doctors? Where did you start to learn about all these ingredients that were lurking in your skincare and your personal care products?
Yeah, I think I had a hunch, just as I did more and more research, like, skincare is one of like your most obvious touch points with chemicals. Your skin's your biggest organ. So like after like changing the food I was eating, mostly organic and vegan, and the water I was drinking, which go through your body, the most obvious thing next to me were household cleaners and skincare and personal care products, because you're putting that on your body's biggest organ. Right. So that was more like intuitive. I'd say like the more research I did and the more I like keyed into the news and like how like you're seeing more cancer in young people, you're seeing more studies on the adverse effects of these potential carcinogens and endocrine disruptors in your skincare products, studies coming out of Harvard. It was really just like my own Googling and just like kind of like forming this encyclopedia in my head, and apps like the EWG and Yuka. Beyond that, no, my doctors really, you find that in like Western medicine, which is like how they're treating you when you have a severe cancer diagnosis. They don't really do a lot of studies on supplements with your chemotherapy, or, this interacting with that, or this diet being better with your treatment. They kind of just say, eat what you can, because you're so nauseous and feel so crappy. They just like don't want to, I think, add another hurdle and stressor to you while you're going through this like intensive treatment, which I think is good and bad. I was really asking like, what can I do to be more proactive?
Right.
They weren't really giving me a lot. They
Yeah.
just wanted me to kind of make it through treatment, which I understand.
Yeah.
So it was really up to me and my own kind of drive to figure out what I should be avoiding and what was where and what shouldn't be there.
Yeah. And did you do all of this at once or was it one at a time?
I would say this was probably like a 2-year journey for me. In the beginning of my treatment, I really couldn't even think about that because it was just so intense. So the first year was my intensive year. And then I entered maintenance, which is like 2.5 years. And that's when I started thinking like, okay, I'm feeling a little better. I'm just taking oral chemo at home mostly. Like what can I do to be proactive? And that started, I switched to vegetarian. A year later I switched to vegan. I was eating mostly organic. I started ordering glass bottle delivery water. I now have a reverse osmosis filter in my apartment. But I was kind of just like gathering clues as I went. And I'd say, yeah, like a year into treatment, I started thinking about my skincare. And then, the more I learned, the more ingredients I was cutting out of what I found acceptable in my products.
Right. So why vegan and vegetarian?
So no one can seem to agree on what the best diet is in terms of like avoiding toxins while getting the nutrients you need.
Right.
I'm actually now again vegetarian at home because I felt like I wasn't getting enough protein. So at home, I'll eat vegetarian because I know that the milk, the dairy, and eggs I buy are organic and pasture raised. When I go out to a restaurant, I don't know that, so I eat vegan again.
Okay.
Basically, there was a study years back called the China study that explained that really there was this like subgroup of people in China who were living longer, and they hypothesized because it's a mostly vegetarian diet. And when you're eating mostly like vegetables and grains, it's really like single input. So there's no bioaccumulation. So like when you take like maybe like rice that was raised with pesticide and then feed it to a cow and then feed that cow, corn that was fed with pesticides and, other things like there's bioaccumulation of these pesticides in there. So you're getting kind of like shocked by more pesticides in a cow than you would in like a single crop. So that was the thinking. I'm not a scientist. Do your own research, but that's what got me on vegetarian and then vegan for that organic and pasture raised reasoning that I was telling you.
I was also vegetarian for like 8, maybe 9 years. And I recently in the past like 6 months started eating meat again. And I don't know why. I kind of just had this one day. I was like, I'm craving some chicken. And
do you feel better or worse or the same?
I actually I wish I could say there's been like huge change, but I honestly feel pretty much the same.
Yeah, that's what I found with vegan to vegetarian.
Right. And I kind of felt the same. I mean, I initially went vegetarian because I was also dealing with a lot of health issues. And my mom went vegetarian 30 years ago and she was vegetarian when she was pregnant with me. So I was kind of like, all right, let me just kind of follow what she eats and maybe my body will feel better. It did feel better, but I don't know. I ended up starting to eat meat again. And recently I like that now I live near a farm and I can go to the farm and get my meat. So I'm kind of happy that I skipped through like the college and post-grad years of like eating random things.
Yeah, I think that if I could like know that my meat was like high-end, local organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised, I'd probably be more inclined to add it back.
Right.
And like maybe working my way towards there. But I do think like nutrient-wise, like it is good to mix these sources of different like proteins and carbohydrates.
Right.
But I don't know. It's
How'd you
constantly
do when you're in New York City?
in flux. So ask me in the year.
Yeah. And Charlie, how is your health right now?
Is good. Thank you for asking. I've been off treatment for 3 years and done with even monitoring for the past like a year and a bit.
Congratulations.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
So going back to just like you started a company, did you always have an entrepreneurial mindset? What did you study in college?
I did. College was just kind of a free-for-all because I had no idea what I wanted to do or study.
Same.
I wanted to major in Italian, and my parents were like, you can't do anything with Italian. So,
Honestly,
You're like, what do you mean? I can go to Italy.
yeah,
you can go to Italy and find yourself a hot person.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, eat pasta, date a hottie.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I minored in it, then I majored in politics because it just felt all-encompassing.
Very important.
Politics. Hated. So, yeah, I've always had this creative and then more analytical side to me. Like both sides and have always been trying to kind of like strike that balance. I think I had a lot of like fails when I first entered the workforce. I wanted to work in music. I was in management and in A&R, preferred management, but I just realized it wasn't for me. So then it was like back to ground zero. And then I happened to talk to this founder through a friend who had just raised $1 million and was looking to build a team. So I went to work for him, and that was this guy Isaac who started Solid and Striped, the swimwear company.
Nice.
So I was the first employee there, was there for about 4 years. And that was like my first real taste of entrepreneurship, behind like little projects here and there, besides rather. And then, and so that was like what I call my real MBA. But then I went back to get my MBA in Italy. 1, to practice more Italian, 2, to get some international living experience, and 3, Bocconi has the best luxury MBA in the world. So all things kind of aligned. Then I got sick.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Where do you fall in the family? Are you the oldest?
I'm number 2 of 4 boys.
Oh, you're the middle.
Monica's a middle child also.
No, I totally get it. So you had to pave your own way, and
Yeah.
also no one paid attention to you.
Yeah, I like made them pay attention to me. I had that like, middle child syndrome where I was like, pay attention to me.
Monica's the middle of 8 kids. So she knows that very well.
I've got 3 siblings above me and 4 beneath me. But all boys is your poor mom.
You're even numbers, so you have 2 middles as well. Me and the one below me both have different middle child traits. But
no, I love it. It's who you are today because of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love your branding. I love the whole branding of Jackfir. We were just talking about it before we got on. Monica's like, the website is so beautiful. I was like scrolling through your social media today. It looks so aesthetic. And I know how you talk about, and your website says how it's inspired by the Adirondack Mountains, yet you're here living in New York City. So tell me about your connection to the Adirondack Mountains and how that has inspired Jackfir.
Yeah. So when I was like going through the branding exercise, I was like, I know the product I want. I know how clean I want it to be. I know that, I want it to be free from thousands of potentially harmful ingredients. So I was thinking like what reflects that like natural kind of plant powered aesthetic. And for me, that was getting out of the city, as you're kind of implying. So we have this old cabin in upstate New York in the Adirondacks that I used to go to. And then I went to a camp 45 minutes away for a month every year. And it really just like was like kind of like rebooting. You're surrounded by all of this protected land, flora and fauna, which I thought kind of really reflected our ingredient standards. And we even used some ingredients that you would find up there, like bark extracts in our eye cream.
Oh, wow.
Some upcycled apple in our cleanser. The list goes on. But yeah, it just kind of stood out to me.
Did you say upcycled apple?
Yeah, we use like...
How did you come about that? And like, how does that work in an ingredient?
Yeah, we were just talking to one of our suppliers, and apple's really like brightening and evening for the skin. And they happen to source it from apple that would have been disposed of from apple juice production. So we just kind of take that extra...
Nice.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So what sort of tips is it difficult living this very clean lifestyle in a city, particularly New York City? And what tips would you give to people who are trying to also focus on their health and wellness while being in a highly metropolitan area where maybe it is like, sometimes hard to get that fresh, organic, grass-fed food or, get connection to the outdoors?
Yeah. I would say like the beginning of this journey was very daunting and overwhelming and caused me a lot of stress. It was like kind of like a negative exercise, but it gets easier and easier. I think that you just have to like not be hard on yourself and realize you're never going to avoid all of the toxins in your daily routine.
Yeah.
You're just trying to minimize them. So we say we're not consciously adding to men's toxic burdens. So I would say like living in New York, it's actually like there is a lot of accessible food, like the Union Square Farmers Market. There's even one in the West Village near my apartment that's much smaller, but you see a lot of efforts to bring these local foods to the city. There's also more and more vegan restaurants. It is harder to find organic food restaurants. There's one called Locohnut that I like. But I've been cooking at home a lot more. As I said, I just moved from a 2nd floor apartment to a 5th floor walk-up.
Nice.
So
Nice. Get your steps in.
Get my steps in, but also I wasn't able to get my glass water delivery, which
So
are
tell
like,
us about that.
20-pound glass bottles.
My
Up
gosh.
5 flights. So I bit the bullet and I installed a reverse osmosis filter in my apartment.
Wow, that's the real deal.
So you were getting delivered filtered water in glass bottles
Yeah,
versus filtering it yourself. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the at-home filters like aren't great unless you're using a reverse osmosis or
Right.
like built-in. Like the Britas aren't going to do anything, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Reverse everyone's bubbles.
And sorry, what is reverse osmosis?
It's just the technology of how it like cycles the water through these filters and like spits it back out. It's just like a unique way of processing the water. I'm not exactly sure of the technology and chemical reasoning, but I do know it's said to be the best way to
I
filter
love
most
it.
of the
Do
impurities.
you like, I guess when you go to restaurants and stuff, do you opt out of tap water?
No, I mean, listen, I'm on a budget, right? I can't just
Right.
drink water wherever I go. So that's another example of like when I'm like, instead of being like, oh my God, like I'm drinking like tap water and I'm eating non-organic, like I'm gonna die. Like I'm just like, okay,
Control
every
what you
once
can
in a while,
control.
I need to relinquish control and enjoy my
Right.
life, have a meal with friends, not torture myself.
Right.
Yeah.
No, everyone's just doing their best, and I don't want anyone listening to this to think that they have to completely overhaul their life. It's just small changes here and there.
Right. And you can
I haven't
control
made it.
your apartment and your own environment. So if you can do that, then that's a good start.
Yeah.
We were just talking to someone last week on the podcast, and she was saying how one of the biggest things that changed for her was like stop being stressed. And we were like, if you could give yourself advice 5 years ago, she's like, chill the F out because the stress is causing more harm to me than it was being productive and helping me in this journey.
Totally. I always try to remind myself to take that advice because it is
Yeah.
stressful having your own business.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's what I found in the beginning. I was like, it was stressing me out too much trying to be like perfectly clean that I was
Right.
like, I can go out sometimes.
Right.
It's all right.
And I also feel like there's a part of, I don't know, I talk to friends, I talk to family, I talk to people who aren't necessarily into non-toxic living, and they kind of get defeatist about it because they're like, there's toxins everywhere, what's even the point? And I
Right.
think you're such a great example of like, if you can only control the things that you can control, and maybe that's 80% of the time or 90% of the time or 60% of the time, it still does make a difference.
Exactly. So like just do your best knowing that even one little change per day is going to be lessening the toxins in your body.
Right.
So there was a study that came out in February that showed just how much plastic is accumulating in our brains. This study, published in the Nature Medicine journal, found that the weight of plastic in our brains may be equivalent to that of a plastic spoon, which is terrifying to think about. They also noticed that there were higher levels of microplastics in the brains of people who had been diagnosed with dementia compared to the brains of those without dementia. Microplastics and PFAS are truly everywhere, including our water systems. They are in our tap water, our fresh water, our oceans. I'm really trying to dedicate this year to finding ways to mitigate plastic in my life, and especially in my home. One actionable way that I've found to do this is to filter out the PFAS and microplastics from my water. And I'm not just talking about my drinking water, but also my shower water. I specifically chose the Weddle Water Shower Duo because it's the only shower filter on the market that has been verified to filter out PFAS and microplastics, along with all the other general contaminants like chlorine and heavy metals. All the other shower filters I was looking at are really focused on chlorine and general contaminants, which is amazing, but I ended up choosing the Weddle Water filter because it had that added benefit of mitigating those microplastics and PFAS, which was also super important to me and just made this specific filter stand out to me. I also really liked that it was truly just a filter. Like, I didn't have to replace my entire shower head. I personally love my shower head, and I didn't want to have to change the entire thing. The install took no more than 10 minutes and it was super easy, and it just looks really nice in my shower. I honestly love the design and look of it. At this point, I'm sure you've heard the benefits of filtering your shower water. Not only can this have a positive impact on your overall health, but it's also beneficial on your skin and your hair. You can achieve all of those benefits with the added bonus of mitigating those plastics and PFAs with the Weddle Water Shower Duo. You can get 10% off your next purchase from Weddle Water by using the code DETOXYOURDOME at checkout. Weddle Water is spelled WEDDELL, and you can use the code DETOXYOURDOME, DETOXYOURDOME for 10% off your next order.
I don't know of many male non-toxic companies. Actually, do you know how many there are in the US?
Oh my God, no idea, but it's not a
No
lot.
idea, yeah.
There are definitely like a few more men's skincare startups sprouting up that I've seen added to EWG. So,
Nice.
the more the merrier. Like, I'm
Yeah,
glad they're catching on.
totally.
Otherwise, I'd say like most industries these days or most subcategories like within clean are more like gender neutral. Some supplements like target women, some supplements target men. There are more like clean supplements, I would say, coming out. But like take like Thorne, for example, or Genexa, those are gender neutral. So this is one of the like one really like obvious ways for me to really go after men who can make a behavioral change. I think that there are a lot of men who like skincare products for men. And so that's
Yeah, and if you were to say like a percentage of men that were non-toxic in the world today, what do you think the percent would be?
oh God, I don't know. Maybe like 10 to 15. It's still like growing.
Yeah.
I would say though that I've read a survey where like over half of people looking to buy skincare, that includes men or women, want some clean claim behind it. So
Okay.
they are interested
Yeah.
in things that are better for you and or the environment.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess why do you think the number is so low for men?
I think it's kind of like societal mostly. So,
Yeah.
there's this toxic masculinity that we're outgrowing right now. You're seeing a
Yep.
big shift in that behavior from men that was inherited from like boomers who were like children of wartime people, and some of them went to war, and it was all
You're
about
like,
like,
I've thought about this. I've thought about this a
yeah,
lot.
being strong, being a provider.
Yeah.
That also comes with like bad habits. Like it's like cool for men to drink and smoke cigarettes and
Right.
do drugs,
It's like
whereas
I thought being strong meant like actually physically being strong. You're not strong if you're struggling with your health.
yeah, and like
Defeats
men,
the whole thing.
yeah, it's not cool to like be vulnerable, and men don't seek help for mental health, and men die at a rate I think like 3 to 5x times women by suicide because they're not
Wow.
Yeah.
being helped, they're not being vulnerable. So
Wow.
it's really just like all of these factors have prevented men from like taking steps towards like a wellness routine.
Yeah.
That said, you have things like Instagram and video calls like this that now we're like on screen more, and people want to be proactive about their appearance and like looking and
Right.
feeling good. You had
Right.
COVID, which really led people to embrace wellness trends because they wanted to feel better about themselves. More men were embracing skincare, and I think just like consumers in general, men and women, are now reading the news and becoming attuned to like synthetic dyes, synthetic fragrances,
Right.
chemicals of concern, chemicals being in skincare products. So I say we got lucky. I mean, I knew our timing was good for one, men embracing skincare, two, men and women learning about toxins in our daily products.
Yeah. It's such a good point to bring up social media. I was just on a trip with my family. I have a bunch of boy cousins, and one of my cousins, Ryan, he's 22, I think, and he brought his best friend on the trip. And he's asking me what I do for work, and just I'm telling him all about Detox Your Dome and skincare and everything. And his friend talked to me for like over an hour about his skincare routine. He was so into it. He was so excited. And I was like, this is amazing because I rarely feel like I get to talk to a boy who's so interested in skincare. And I was asking him like, what got you into skin? Like, why are you so into it? And he's like, you just have to care about how you look. He's like, I just cared about my appearance. He's like, I had acne and I just didn't want the acne to be there. And I just cared. And of course, by the end of the conversation, then my cousin is like, all right, guys, set me up with the routine. Like, I want all the products. And I think also then, the social pressure, I feel like if there's one person in the friend group or, one amongst the peers that's like, no, guys, this is cool. And then they see it, like you said, I'm seeing more men on TikTok and Instagram, like doing their skincare routines and it not being this like demasculating thing. It's like, no, you want good skin. You want to look good. It doesn't matter like how masculine you are, who doesn't want to like look good. And especially I feel like in this era of health too, where it's we want to all be like health is trendy, I guess you could say, but it's it's cool to be healthy now, and with that comes your skin.
Yeah, I think that it's like a blessing and a curse, right? We're here, we want to help men look and feel their best, and
Yep.
unfortunately, like how you look is tied to like your self-worth these days.
Yeah.
But like also it's just like nice to feel like you're looking your best. That's not a bad thing.
Right.
What can be bad, and I think I've been reading is leading to depression in not just young women, but young men, is some of this social media perfection, six pack, perfect skin.
Yeah.
Look
So
maxing.
it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? So we're happy to be here to help, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you don't want to base your entire self-worth on your appearance.
Right. So tell us about, so what constitutes like a men's skincare brand versus a woman's skincare brand? And then walk us through your products.
That's a good question. I don't think there's a big difference. And I've
Okay.
always I've always supplemented my skincare routine with women's products because I was convinced they were better made.
Okay.
More thoughtful ingredients. I think they're better actives. Oftentimes they were cleaner. But what I realized is if you're like going after like a general skin concern, like we're really focused on like on hydration. We want all of our products to hydrate the skin. That's pretty like broad strokes, like can be for men or women. So really
Right.
it's about kind of our messaging, our packaging, and certain active ingredients and like how they target. Men want to hear, like they really want to like be able to visualize how their active ingredients are working.
Okay.
So we have a physical exfoliant, for example, in our cleanser because that you can feel and you're like, okay, this is like you feel the mind body connection. This is working. Some people
Love that.
are scared of physical exfoliants. Don't worry, it's not a walnut scrub. Not going to give you microabrasions. This is
These aren't tiny little plastic beads that you're rubbing in your face.
not microplastic. Someone said in an Amazon review, which is
No.
No,
No.
not the
Tell us
Amazon
who.
reviews.
We'll comment back.
they're tiny hydrolyzed jojoba oil. So it's just like little wax jojoba oil balls, and they're very gentle. But so we can speak to that. Like in our moisturizer, there is a clinically proven ingredient, a microalgae solution that can literally protect your skin's natural moisture barrier from environmental stress, so pollution. So
Wow.
they want to have like very cause and effect ingredients that are qualified and can be explained. But I think our products really are for anyone. So
Right.
we are trying to make men be thoughtful about ingredients, take better care of themselves, but also we want to stress that if you want to use it, you can. A lot of women don't like the cloyingly sweet scent of some feminine targeted products, so they like our shave cream because it's a little more gender neutral and oody, woodsy. Some women like our moisturizer because it's a very like earthy, natural scent. It's really anyone who wants it can use it. But I don't think there's a huge difference between men's and women's products on the market in terms of like
The actual ingredients.
Women can only use this.
Yeah.
Our skin's slightly different. Men have bigger pores, oilier skin, which they say actually has the effect of like not wrinkling as quickly as women do. But women, on the flip side, take better care of their skin and are more inclined to wear SPF. So really it kind of like nets out. So there's really a big difference.
Have you gotten all of your brothers to use your skincare now?
I sure have.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But my dad will only use
And everyone's stalking.
Yeah.
my dad will only use the shave cream though. He refuses to wash his face or moisturize.
He's the last
it's
one left.
generation-
No, my dad still uses like literally bar of soap. Like I don't even think it's Dove. Like I think it's like the worst, most cheap thing in CVS. He is using that till the day he dies.
He's like, I've been
Well,
using it for 30 years.
Well, now you can gift him, if you know he's not going to use our cleanser, you can gift him our bar soap. And
Perfect.
yeah.
Amazing. Do you find a lot of men prefer bar soap?
Actually, yeah, it's pretty split. We have a post-purchase survey on our website, and like the number one most requested product is a body product. So
Okay.
whether that's a body wash or a bar soap. We chose the bar soap direction because it's just more sustainable and has less.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a silly question. I probably should know the answer. But what is a man's skincare routine?
So that's
If any.
it's a personal question. So for us, we launched with a cleanser, a shave cream, and a moisturizer because we thought that was like the easiest three-step routine that at a minminimum men should be
Okay,
doing.
so every morning a man shaves. That's got to be, and then a moisturizer.
Yeah, if you don't have a beard and you shave, we'd say exfoliate. Wash your face. Doesn't
Okay.
have to be the exfoliating cleanser. It could be another one, but cleanse your face somehow. Shave if that's part of your routine, and then finish up with our moisturizer.
Yeah.
Our shaving cream's very moisturizing as you go. So like honestly, it feels like you don't even have to moisturize when you're done, which is very uncommon and why a lot of people like it and why it's our best seller.
Oh, love.
But since then, we've also added an eye cream, which I personally think if you're, around the age of 30, it can't hurt to add that in.
Yep.
Our products do have slight essential oil fragrances because we think that's an important psychological part of this like wellness routine. But the eye cream doesn't. That's fragrance free and ophthalmologist tested, so safer on the eyes, safe for contact lens wearers. And we wanted that to just have like nothing in it because that is such gentle, tender skin.
And
Yeah.
what are the benefits of the eye cream?
It does everything. It targets puffiness, dark circles, crow's feet. So it really like runs the gamut, and it does that by using glycols and bark extracts and organic shea butter. And those help with everything I just mentioned, mostly like hydrating and conditioning the under eye.
I will say, like, every man wants this. Like, whenever I'm like doing my skincare routine and a guy is next to me, they're like, "Ooh, what's that? Ooh,
Yes.
wait, can we have some?" Like,
Yeah.
I know they want it.
I
And
agree. And I also feel like it really just takes like one time of showing them this is how it feels. So Charlie actually sent me their face kit and I did the whole routine with
Ooh.
my dad and my two uncles and it was so much fun. And they were for 2 days, they're like, oh, my skin is so soft. And
Right, like,
I was like,
they
okay,
want
everyone.
this.
Yeah. And they were like, wait, can I borrow the eye cream? Can I borrow? And like once they tried it once, then they're like, oh, I'm so into this. I feel like
Yeah.
that's the biggest barrier is just getting them to do it once
Yep.
and then they're in. I mean, you would know better than we would. Like, what do you think the barriers are for them to just even start the skincare routine?
I love that video of your family. So, a surprising amount of men do have routines. So
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
really for us.
I'm
For
surprised.
For them, it's getting them to, switch because they're very
Okay.
loyal to brands. And if they have a routine they like, they just keep
Yeah,
using
that's
it.
the biggest thing. Yep.
Usually for them, it's convincing them why clean is better and to just give us a shot. And for people who don't have one, I'd say really the biggest avenue of discovery has been kind of like you were saying through their partners. So whether that's a man or a woman or your parents, like I was gifted Kiehl's when I was a child. Women are 50% of our consumer and most of them are gifting the man in their life.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's been like a really good avenue of discovery for us. Yeah, so I'd say that's like the most powerful way to get someone like that doesn't have a routine.
Find yourself a girlfriend, boys.
Yeah, and like you were saying, a lot of times they'll just steal their girlfriends, and so like
Yeah.
clean mommies are like a big sub segment of this world. And
True.
so,
Yep.
like, if they don't want their husband stealing their like Tata Harper True Botanicals,
Right.
we're a good option to get them off their back and preserve
Right.
the product.
I feel like I know so many of our friends who are like, no, my boyfriend loves doing the face mask with me. He did it once and now he's hooked
Right.
and he's always using my, like Claudia was like, he's always stealing my shampoo. Like I had to
Yeah.
get him
No,
like,
the guys want
they
to
do
do
want
this
the
stuff.
products.
Do you
Yeah.
find like price point is an issue, or do you feel like that's not a problem?
We're definitely premium and we're kind of sitting
Yeah.
in our own little like category because we're like slightly more than Kiehl's but less than like Dr. Barbara Sturm and like all of these like more expensive like La Mer's and
Yeah.
even this one called Era Lab that is a competitor. But no, like people
People
I
want to
think
buy
people
it. Yeah,
understand like better ingredients cost
Yeah.
more.
I get
Um,
it.
but yeah, I don't know. That could change over time. Like
Yeah.
I originally launched the brand like I'm gonna be like this mass clean brand. I'm gonna sell in products for like $4 and get it in the hands of every man in the world. And like it just wasn't like an
You're like,
economical
this isn't happening. I mean,
possibility.
you're formulating with such high quality ingredients.
Yeah.
So talk to us about your formulation process. Where does it start? I mean, you said you do this exit survey on your website, so you kind of get a sense of what people want. But in terms of choosing ingredients, is there a point at which you have ingredients that you're like, this is what we want the product to be like, but there's ingredients in here that we don't want, and now we're trying to find alternatives? Or are you just starting from ground zero with only clean ingredients and trying to like piece something together?
Usually you have like a benchmark product that you're like, I like this, but I would change that, or I like this, but I want to make it clean.
Yeah.
Or, just like there's some sort of like place you start and then you kind of like spitball. So you'll produce like a product one sheet for your formulator and be like, I like these attributes. I want it to be hydrating. Like these are the, like, listen, I didn't have a skincare background. I like skincare, but I'm not a chemist.
Yeah.
So, like I think I like this ingredient because I think it does this, and like I want to be able to say that this is like super hydrating, and I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then your lab will come back to you and be like, based on what you told me, we think this is what you want, and then they'll give it to you, and you're like, oh my god, this is so wrong. Like I don't like this color. I don't like how
Yeah.
it smells. It's a little too thin. I want it to be thicker. And you go through like 3 to 5 rounds, and then you're like, this is the one.
Yeah.
So it's very nuanced, and then within that, like what held up our launch by at least 8 months was we wanted to be super certified. Like we wanted not to just say we're clean, but like one of my biggest gripes when I got into this was like I didn't know who to trust or like why I should
Right.
trust them because so many people say clean, and
Yeah.
reading the ingredient list is a complete nightmare. So I was like, how do I bypass this? I'm like, oh, I just get third parties who I trust to certify my brand as meeting their standards. So that's what led us to get EWG-Verified, so Better for You and the Planet. None of it's a perfect science, but at least they're trying. We got NSF ANSI through a 5 standard certified, which means 70% or more organic ingredients.
Oh, amazing.
A lot of brands will be like organic ingredient asterisk or contains organic ingredients, but it's like 0.01% of the formula.
Right.
So I found that really misleading. So I came up with 70% as like our cutoff for how much we'll say we can claim, and that's regulated. You either can say basically 70% or more or like 100%.
Okay. How do
And
they
then
test for that? Are you giving them, are they going to your lab? How are they certifying that?
we disclose our percentages and ingredient documentation, and
Okay.
so they can like confirm, and letters from the brand and the lab, and Leaping Bunny cruelty free certified, vegan certified. So we really just like went above and beyond to meet those standards. That said, sometimes we'd like have a final formula and submit it to them, and they'd come back and be like, actually, we think if you use this oil above 3%, it could have an allergenic or allergic effect.
Yep.
Well,
Got
then
it.
you go back and you're like, okay, let's lower this by like 0.5% and add more like organic aloe. Like, so it was really, it
Yeah.
wasn't that simple.
Right, right. A lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
For the early stages of your company, how did you guys scale? What worked? What platforms were you on? And would you have done something differently if you could go back in time?
I wouldn't. I think I was kind of
Love that.
spoiled by my last experience, even though it was in fashion. It was very similar in terms of like starting a digitally native brand that would then go into wholesale. I had planned it so that like the first year I was really focused on getting to know our customer directly through really just our website. We started adding some like single store boutiques and some smaller chains through that year with a focus online.
Yeah.
Year two, we got on Amazon, where you have a little less customer data, but it's very important to be on, especially as a men's brand. Men are lazy and like to get all of their things in one place. But, we didn't want to lose that customer insight that we got the first year. So now that's become bigger than our own website, and we're doing a lot of business there. And we invest some of our digital budget into marketing on Amazon to get those sponsored posts out there.
Okay, good to know you're on Amazon. That makes it super easy.
Yeah, so
People to find.
Amazon's been good.
So are you in physical locations?
Yep, we are in about 70 boutiques nationwide. 11 of
Amazing.
those are Fellow Barber, which is a chain.
Okay.
And then 10 of those are Erewhon in California.
Wow. Wow. And how do you plan to expand into this next year?
Just are continuing to go after different target grocers, barber shops, men's accounts,
Cool.
and clean beauty shops as kind of like their men's answer. If you walk into a clean beauty store, there's some gender neutral stuff, but there's really no dedicated section for men, and we really want to like be that option.
Who doesn't love a candle? I know some of my simple pleasures in life include cleaning my house, getting cozy on the couch, putting on my favorite show, and lighting a beautiful candle. But what I don't love about traditional candles are the PFAs, formaldehyde releasers, synthetic fragrances, heavy metals, and volatile organic compounds that are often found in them. It definitely just ruins the experience for me if I know that I'm potentially breathing in carcinogenic or hormone disrupting chemicals. And this is why I almost exclusively shop Fate Naturals candles. She has somehow made non-toxic candles smell as potent as the ones that you would buy at Home Goods. I have yet to recommend this candle brand to someone who does not absolutely love them. What's also so fun about Fate Naturals is that she does these seasonal drops. So each season she comes out with a collection of 6 scented candles. The spring collection that just dropped has the scents Succulent Garden, Yuzu Blossom, Blueberry Muffin, Grapefruit Basil, Beach Bonfire, and Coastal Cottage. She also does a Candle of the Month Club where you'll be the first to try exclusive and new scents. The past few months have been Sweet Magnolia for April, which is a delicate floral scent, Lucky Shamrock for March, which is a combination of a crisp aloe and a zesty lime, and February was a red velvet cupcake, which was very sweet and buttery. I have tried lots and lots of candles, and I just always come back to Fate Naturals. They are always my first recommendation when someone is looking for a non-toxic candle. You can get 10% off any Fate Naturals purchase, including monthly recurring subscriptions, with my code DetoxYourDome. That is 10% off any Fate Naturals purchase with the code DetoxYourDome, spelled DetoxYourdome. I promise you will love Fate Naturals. Talk to us about the EWG verification process. I feel like people are very interested to know what that process looks like going through and just what your experience was with it.
Yeah, lengthy.
Okay. I guess it's a good thing.
Yeah, you have to fill out a spreadsheet with, your ingredients, disclose those percentages, suppliers, some additional documentation from the suppliers to back up kind of all of these claims, which helps to have like a third party as like having their set of eyes to be like, okay, this brand isn't making this up.
Yeah.
Submit, affidavits from you and the manufacturer. But it's a process. It takes definitely like a few months for them to like review it all and their science team and say it's approved. Often, as I mentioned, they'll come back and be like, we don't like what we're seeing here, swap out the ingredient, or, lower the percentages, or like we need additional documentation like proving this is organic or whatnot. So it's lengthy and not for the faint of heart, but once you do it once, you kind of figure out what you need to do for your products on the next step.
Right.
And now that they're becoming such a force, I think that a lot of these manufacturers are able to preemptively formulate better to their standards than they used to be.
Love that. I know. I feel like a lot of new brands, and maybe it's just because I'm in this space, but I do feel like oftentimes, the new trendy brand that you hear about is more often than not has a clean component. Maybe they're not completely clean, whatever those standards are, but they do, at least are talking about it, are trying to eliminate certain ingredients in there. So it's good to hear it's starting from the manufacturer's side as well. How do you think we can start to restore trust in people and like differentiate? I guess the question is like, explain like we are really truly a clean brand, we're EWG verified. Like, how do you think we can translate that to consumers and to people who are really trying to purchase clean products, but honestly can't like trust anything? They don't know what to trust.
That's a loaded question. I would say the best thing you can do is look to these third-party certifications.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I would say to like really get familiar with ingredients and ingredient lists to figure out what you like and what you don't. Biggest way to accomplish everything you're saying is for the FDA to regulate better. They're not regulating anything. They're introducing very small things like this thing called MOCRA, where you're having to be liable and disclose a little bit more about your ingredients. But, they're not saying you can't use synthetic fragrance. They're not saying what's in
And why is that? Like, why aren't things regulated?
They do it in the UK and Europe. I don't know why they don't do it here.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes from like the big chemical and ag companies wanting to sell their ingredients.
Yeah.
We've all heard little bits of this with the Make America Healthy Again movement. Which I'm not going to take a stance on, but I will say there are certain points they're making that are true. Like, I think that it would be very easy to ban certain ingredients, and it would make sense to the public to not have to worry more or like to doubt claims, or at least you could hold brands accountable if they're lying. So it really starts at a governmental level.
Yeah. Yep. I completely agree.
But the consumers are becoming smarter, which is good.
They are. And off that, what are some ingredients that people should definitely try to stay away from? If they're able to see them on an ingredient list, obviously there's going to be thousands and hundreds and, an exorbitant amount of ingredients to commit to memory. But what are some like things that could be easy to spot on an ingredient list to make it simple?
Yeah, I think we've all heard about like parabens and sulfates. Like, I would stay away from those. Synthetic fragrance can hide thousands of different ingredients within that one.
Yep, we learned that last week.
So I would just like steer clear of that. Like us, for example, we just list out all of our sub-essential oils as their own ingredients. So you can see that they're not just like natural scents, but this is the ingredient. Some other ones top of mind are, formaldehyde can sneak into products. Phenoxyethanol, as I mentioned, is a preservative that has been pretty well documented to potentially have allergic qualities to it. So I would avoid that. Synthetic dyes, as we mentioned, a lot of them have a pretty clear correlation with having carcinogenic effects and potential ADHD issues and allergy issues. And then there are like these other things called EMTs, and the list goes on.
Yeah, the list goes on and on.
But I think that's like a easy beginner's place to start.
Yeah. It's a scary world we live in. So do you feel like the U.S. has it worse than other countries in the world? Or do you think that we're better off?
No, it's worse. There's like no regulation. I would say a lot of the clean brands are making strides. I'd say like it's really great to see brands introducing like more organic ingredients and less additives in food and skincare. One thing I forgot to mention is organic. You should be, people often overlook organic in their skincare, like, but they want to eat organic. Like, why do you want to rub pesticides on your body as big as organ? So look into like how many organic ingredients as well. But I'd say there's a pretty seismic shift happening. Consumers. Hopefully the U.S. is catching up. I like to think it is. But it's definitely less regulated. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about, the concerning ingredients in personal care products, skincare products, but what are the negative health impacts of consuming products that have those ingredients in them?
So it's pretty well documented that like the more toxins you're interacting with, the higher your chances are of acute and chronic illness. As I kind of alluded to earlier, like cancer in young people is on the rise. More and more people are expected to get cancer in their lifetime. So while we're living longer, there's more chronic illness, which is scary. And, that's coincided kind of with the Industrial Revolution, that these rates have been getting higher. So like there are some surveys that say that men's sperm counts have gone down by 50% since 1970. So like there are all these scary statistics that are kind of pointing towards chemicals. And of course, there are things we don't know. We don't really know what causes cancer, which is really scary. But you're finding more and more links between things with additives. Like, for example, I read a stat a few years ago that like eating, I don't want to scare you, eating like boar's head type of deli meat.
Okay, good. I don't eat that.
I was vegetarian for 8 years. I'm good.
Eating like a sandwich like that once a day increases your chance of colorectal cancer by 18%.
My gosh.
Wow.
So these non-natural foods and serums and things are really having an effect in the tissue and the organs and systems of your body.
So what are some other aspects of your life you've tried to mitigate these environmental toxins? You said you have your reverse osmosis water filter, you had your glass bottle water delivery, but what else? What else are you doing?
I have an air purifier in my bedroom where, you spend, 8 hours at least a day if you're getting enough sleep. I try to get outside a lot. Lesser known fact is that indoor air pollution is often worse than outdoor air pollution. And that's because of the dust and the particles that can contain flame retardants or plastics or chemicals from your furniture and your, whatnot. So always a good idea to get outside and vacuum frequently.
Yeah. My parents recently built a house and they furnished the whole house, obviously. And the first few months, my mom and I both have asthma. We literally couldn't go to the house for 2 months because the off-gassing from all of the new furniture was so hard on our breathing. We literally couldn't be in the house. It was crazy. And I'm like, I think this is from the furniture.
I know, isn't it scary?
It's scary.
Oh, the dust. What else are you doing?
I mean, the biggest things beyond that are clothes can have an effect. I could be better about that. Organic cotton, not synthetics that are polyester's plastic.
Yeah.
Nylon's plastic.
Yeah.
And then, exercise, supplements.
What supplements are you taking?
I take vitamins D and K, I take creatine, I take magnesium, and I take vitamin B12.
Okay.
Those are good places to start. If you're eating a animal protein rich diet, you probably don't need B12.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm always just kind of trying to discover new ways to be healthier. And
right.
I'd say honestly, beyond the, thinking about your toxins, the biggest things you can do are managing your stress levels. And that's often through sleep and exercise.
I've really been trying to work on my sleep. I have one of these Whoops now. And my goal for 2025 was I need to work on my sleep. I was such I didn't have a normal sleeping pattern. And it's true. I feel so much better. I feel like I can perform better in the gym and just think clearer. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? I won't get everything done today that I need to get done. I think the extra hour of sleep is really going to serve me.
Yeah. I feel for me, I'm I try to turn off my phone, not look at any screens at least an hour before. And it's hard to do.
It's hard.
You put your phone away and you don't see it until the next day.
I hate to admit, I'm such a TV in bed girl.
No.
It's my one vice.
I read my book and I am you can send me a text at 8 o'clock. I will not respond to it until 8 a.m. the next day. And I'm not ignoring you. I just don't have my phone with me.
Yeah, I take my sleep very seriously. I'm my circadian rhythm is very much like a night owl.
Okay.
I'm trying to train myself not to be like that for years.
Yeah.
So I'll usually go to bed at 11:30.
That's late. No, I'm a 9 p.m. girl.
I'm right there with Charlie. That's me.
Yeah, I sleep though till 8:30.
Gotcha.
You read these books on productivity and getting up at 5 and meditating. And I can't do it. And like thinking about it stresses me out. And like I need a lot of sleep and I always have. And so I'm just like, you know what? Like screw you. I know myself
Right.
better than all of you.
And you're getting 8
I need
hours.
8 to
You're
9
fine.
hours every night and leave me alone.
Okay, this is
I
so
love it.
validating because I'm literally on the same sleep schedule, and I feel
Yeah.
like I can't tell anyone that I slept till 9 a.m. today. Like they've all been up for hours already, but you know what? I
Oh,
feel great, and it's
yeah.
bad because my girlfriend's the same way, and so sometimes it becomes a negative thing because we're like, we need to go to sleep now. Like it's too late. Like we need to go to sleep. Yep.
No, I was
me too.
up. I was up at 5:30 a.m.
Wow.
I was like doing my routine,
Hey.
watching the news, made my breakfast. Yeah, we are on opposite ends.
My
Charlie and I are
boyfriend's
getting every last minute of our sleep in. I'm like my favorite thing on the weekend is to sleep until like 11 or 12, and I always wake up and I'm like, I still got it, because my parents would always be like, you're gonna grow out of this one day, and I'll text them like, hey, slept till 11:30 today.
No, totally. Like sometimes the other weekend, my boyfriend was traveling and I forgot to set an alarm, which like never happens to me.
Oh my gosh.
No.
And I didn't wake up till 11. And I was
Oh
like,
my God.
Oh
Did you
my
love it?
gosh.
It does kind of feel really nice. Like when you look at the clock and it says 11 a.m.
Yep.
Well, I guess the last question is, what is next for you and the company? What are some of your dreams?
we're laser focused on getting our skincare products into as many places as possible. So, a next like target account for us would be like Whole Foods or Target.
That would be
And
unbelievable.
yeah, I'd really love to be in Whole Foods
Yeah.
one day. But also to release more products. We want like kind of like anything you would use topically in your bathroom to make an offering for that. We're very laser focused right now on skin care and personal care.
We can't wait
And
to
then
deck
who
our
knows what
bathrooms
the
out with
future
Jackfir
holds beyond
products.
that. We'll get you some
Do you
more.
have any plans to expand into different product lines?
Yeah, so we have the bar soap coming out, which is our first foray into
Nice.
body.
Hear that, Dad?
And then,
Bar soap.
then we're working on an SPF.
Exciting.
We're,
Has that been hard to formulate?
um,
Oh,
no.
love.
We settled on one we liked very
Okay.
early on. What's been hard is getting the timing right because it is expensive. There's more testing because that is FDA regulated,
Okay.
thank God. So that goes through a much different, more expensive testing
Okay.
process.
Awesome. Well, some fun, exciting things coming.
We can't wait to watch you
Yeah.
continue to grow this incredible business. Can we do a giveaway? Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, we will post some giveaway details on the Detox Your Dome Instagram. What should we give away?
I think a good thing to start with would be the face kit. That comes with our cleanser, our shave cream, and our moisturizer, and is those are we say are the core 3 products for any man starting a skincare routine.
Incredible.
Awesome.
Well, I cannot
Alrighty.
wait for a lucky listener of this podcast episode to win this wonderful face kit.
Thank you so
Love
much,
it.
Charlie.
Thanks for having me.